gender, sexuality, tradition, business, and so much more. Hi, I'm Regina Gershman.
And I'm Dr. Sam Dubé. Together, we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey with engaging people from around the world, starting from right here in Ottawa, the capital of Canada.
Hello, May Bugenhagen. I am Super Sam Dubé of Agora Publishing. This is my colleague, Regina, who is a dating etiquette expert. And we're here to interview you today concerning your two Asian matchmaker business, as well as your perspectives on intercultural dating and dating in this era of global pandemic. It's very nice to meet you.
Welcome to the Etiquette Show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we were talking a little bit before we started filming and asked you a little bit about your business. Can you tell us about your business and the motivation behind it?
Yes, absolutely. Two Asian Matchmakers was founded in Los Angeles about 11 years ago. And the whole purpose was, I'm Asian American and I'm a woman. And when I was single, just had trouble dating. So I thought, wow, what a great way to help other Asian women out there who want to meet a great guy. So the whole focus of Two Asian Matchmakers is to help men of all ethnicities meet Asian women and get married and have babies if they wanted and live happily ever after.
As I mentioned to you before, my mother is born and raised in the Orient and of Chinese descent, and I'm a 13th generation French Canadian on my father's side. But why is it that you felt that Asian women needed help? I mean, I know personal experience, but what are some of the particular challenges that you faced and that you saw other Asian women face in the dating scene?
Is it the cultural background? Is that the cultural background with the Caucasian people that they don't understand the tradition?
Or maybe they want to date Asian guys too. You never know, right? Or black guys.
Exactly. They can date whoever they want.
Well, mainly just growing up, you were always taught to get good grades, listen to your parents, respect the elderly, and just put your head down and work really hard in school and get straight A's or B's and just go ahead and finish school, get a good degree, come out and graduate and get a great job. So your Asian parents don't really tell you, hey, put some time away to start dating and go ahead and meet a great guy and get married and have kids. Like for me, it was, I just went to school, I graduated, I got a job, and next thing you know, my parents are like, okay, where are the grandbabies? And I'm like, okay, but I never even had that stage where I was dating. So there's a lot of Asian men and women out there who didn't have a lot of dating experience and maybe needs help in that. And that's what I'm here for.
And the expectation was, of course, once you reach a certain age, you're supposed to get married to whoever your parents like, or else they might find someone that they think they like it, but for you.
So what were the expectations on you as a young woman, an adolescent and a young woman, in regards to finding a guy? What were expectations, yeah.
They wanted you to want to have kids. They wanted to have grandkids. And they wanted you to be educated and have a good job and have a better life than what your parents had. So they always want to improve as generations came along, that you be better than your parents and have a better, easier life. So
I understand. But more specifically, what did they expect to happen for you to find a guy? That a guy would discover you, that you would improve yourself? Like, can you explain that to people that don't know the expectations in the East Asian cultures?
I think a lot of times with dating, we're just watching a lot of movies and TV. So we're kind of in this fantasy land where we think we're just going to bump into a great guy organically and meet at the grocery store. But in reality, it's not like that. In reality, you need to put the time and the effort into dating and put the message out there in the universe that you want to date and find someone great and be with them and find a long-term partner. So some of the expectations that parents put on the Asian daughters is a lot. They just think, oh, you're not dating this person mysteriously, secretly for the past few years, and you're just going to bring them home and say, ta-da, here's my fiance. Like, it doesn't happen that way. But I think maybe some Asian parents secretly hope that it does happen that way.
find someone specific or special, of course they're all special, online dating website versus matchmaking?
I think online dating is a great place for a lot of singles to find each other. And where else are you going to go with a huge salad bar of single men and single women that are just putting themselves out there saying that they're single and they want to meet somebody, right? A lot of times maybe an online dating platform isn't taken seriously because there are so many people, and maybe you can't be more serious in finding the match. So that's where people come to a matchmaking company like Two Asian Matchmakers, and that's when I'm the middleman for them. So I help sell them, I help advocate for them and represent them and vet the men for them. So it makes it a lot easier where it's like a friend introducing you to somebody, and it just takes the guesswork out of it because I already tell the men and women, okay, this person wants kids. This person thinks religion's important. This is what they want. These are their values. These are their key life values. These are what they don't want. So a lot of times with matchmaking, that makes it a lot easier. I just send them an email and say, hey, here's a great man or woman that wants to meet you. What do you think? And then we go from there.
Now, because you mentioned that there are particular challenges to being an Asian woman, East Asian woman, you can assume that Asian women, there may be a trend as to what they're looking for as well. So do you see that, or do their desires and aspirations range across an entire spectrum, or do you have some trends?
I think what Asian women want is the same thing what non-Asian women want. They want a tall guy, someone successful, someone educated. Like all these things are still very important, but we dig a little bit deeper and say, okay, well, what do their families do? Are their parents still together? Do they attend church? Are they active in the volunteering community? Like all those things add up to like the big picture for them. So
isn't it more important for them to find not the outer experience, outer look? It's more like the inner look. What does he have? What kind of person he has? What values he has? What traditions? What culture he brings with him, rather than the outside look? That's sometimes that's what women are looking for. Well, in later years, to find a great match.
Right, Regina, that's an excellent point. Traditions and culture makes up a huge asset in them picking their spouse, because the cultural differences matter a lot. It probably doesn't sound like it matters a lot when you're in your 20s and you're just dating for fun, but when you're thinking about settling down and having kids and how do you raise them and all those other values, it matters way more. So yes, those are the things that we help the singles sort out as well.
Yeah, this is what I was alluding to with the trends because of the culture. There's certain things like I find that a lot of Asian women want a more educated mate. I find they want a more polite mate, someone who's more cultured, someone who can present well. It depends, obviously, like you mentioned, it's across the spectrum, but because of the Asian cultural influence, I think there are trends. I really do.
Right. There are definitely reasons why you want to take a man home. You want to be proud of him, and vice versa. You don't want to just take home anybody. You don't, a lot of Asian men and women are pretty private when they're dating. So when you bring home somebody, it's a big deal. It's not just, hey, let's all have dinner and just get to know each other. It's like, hey, here's a potential of my future spouse if I bring him home. So it means a lot.
Yeah, and it would mean a lot if your parents would like him as well. I mean, you can bring somebody home and your parents don't like him, then you'll have to answer for it later.
Right.
Yeah, no, a lot of Asians, they don't understand that, and how important that is when you bring them home, what kind of stamp of approval that you're getting from the person you're dating. It's a really big deal to do that,
Right.
you know. And I was raised in some Chinese cultural mores without knowing it, just by the way my mother spoke to my brother and I as we were growing up. You know, it's like, you don't get anybody pregnant. Don't get anybody pregnant. And if you were a girl, I'd be teaching you how to trap a man. Okay? All right, bye. That's it. Oh, okay. Well, I'm 11 years old and I want to be on the Starship Enterprise. Okay.
Yeah.
My Russian background, it was like I couldn't date until I was 18. But if I wanted to date someone, I would have to bring them home so I could date with my parents.
Right.
And that was a cultural background. You just couldn't date.
Yeah, no, a lot of that is it really hits home with me. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup in high school. I wasn't allowed to date in high school. So all of a sudden you're in college and you don't even know how to wear makeup. How am I supposed to attract a mate? You know, so there are a lot of things that I feel like at Two Asian Matchmakers with my company that we can help a lot of the Asian women. Like, let's get her nice photos for her dating profile. Let's help her arrange her dating profile, and let's highlight some of these things about her. And there's a lot of ways to put your best foot forward in dating. And that's my job, is to help the men and women do that, and for them to find somebody, hopefully in a short period of time.
How do you screen the men?
Very easily, kind of like this, on a Skype call or a Zoom call, and I talk to them and I'm basically just getting to know them, and you'd be surprised what people reveal when they really want you to help them. So I really get to know them very well, their quirks, their strengths, their weaknesses, kind of like an interview for a job, but this is like interviewing for their mate. So I need to know a lot of questions. I need to ask them things that are kind of private, and maybe they're embarrassed to tell me, but I can get to it and they share the information. I mean, that's what they want, to tell me the truth so I can better help them find somebody.
Like what questions?
What questions? Like, okay, what is your ideal partner? What are your must-haves? What are your deal breakers? If you say that they have to be a dog lover, or what religion are they? Politics play a key role. Even today's COVID opinions play a key role in dating. So there's a lot of discussions on everything, down to their favorite foods. What do you like to do on a vacation? What's your lifestyle like? What are your views about money? What are your views about your parents? What are your views about your job? All these things. I mean, things that make relationships last are key topics for him and I to share, so we can get down to, the nitty gritty.
What's some of the advice you give the Asian women?
I feel like Asian women and all daters alike just need to be more open. So whoever is asking you out or showing interest in you, that's who you're attracting. Like, they already want to be with you. Like, you're halfway there. Like, they already want to spend time with you. So what's it going to hurt? Just say yes to them. Like a coffee date or a dinner date is not an arranged marriage. It's like there's nothing wrong with just going out there and see what they're like and have a great dinner with somebody. And if you can't have lunch or coffee or dinner with somebody, then maybe you're not ready to date, because if you can't spend an hour with somebody just talking about life or the weather or current events, then maybe you shouldn't be dating. But if you are open to meeting somebody, then yeah, just give them a chance. Because when I started seeing my husband, I didn't know he was going to be the one. Come on. Like, how do you know if someone's going to be a good father or husband, in like 90 minutes? You just have to give someone a chance. That's the bottom line with dating.
Meet your husband. Where did you meet your husband?
I met my husband at my old job. So we've been together 13 years. And, but that's the thing. A lot of people are fortunate enough to meet in college, or maybe at a job after college, or, friends of a friend, friends of family. But there's also a lot of people that kind of miss that window where they didn't meet their spouse in college, or they haven't met the one at work because all their co-workers are the same gender. So that's where matchmaking comes into play, is like, okay, you kind of missed the ball there, but let's help you now going forward.
Dating etiquette. When you put two people together and they're going on a first dating, on the first date, how many minutes would you advise them to keep it up to?
You really love the minute thing, don't you? You want to break it right down to months, right? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. I like the no rule thing. Yeah.
That is in my dating etiquette book, I guess, you say it's between 30 and 60 minutes maximum. You don't want to tell them too much information.
Come on, May. Tell her like it is. Tell her like it is, May. Come on.
I think 60 to 90 minutes is plenty on a first date. I feel like you should leave him or her wanting more. So you should always end a date with a joke, or when you're laughing, not when you're all bored and spending 3 hours together. Like, come on, like, but 60 minutes, 90 minutes is a good gauge of if you want to be with this person longer, then you make plans for a second date. That's a great way to segue into it and say, gosh, you know what? Time just went by so fast. Meeting you, Regina. I really enjoy this. I would love to see you again. Are you free next week? And that's a great way to ask and invite someone out. But yeah, I agree with you. There should be a time limit. Like 4 hours is too long. Like, don't hold your poor date hostage. Like, that's just wrong.
I wanted to ask this question to you. Clearly, when you met your husband, you kind of fell in love with him, right? You said you worked with him for 13 years. So,
no, they were married for 13
oh, you're married for 13 years. Excuse me. Okay, so but you worked with him, so you knew him beforehand, right?
Right. I knew him. I knew him at work, but we didn't work together. So we were just maybe acquaintances at work. It wasn't until later that we started dating. We've only been married. Well, it will be 3 years, July 4th. But we've been together about 13 years. So yeah.
There you go. Okay. So what kind of attraction was there with him over the course of that first 10 years then?
Well, he was tall. Just kidding. No, that's not what. No. Well, actually, what really made me want to get to know him better and to really spend the time with him is his character. It's the integrity, his character, how he treats his family, how close he is with his brothers, how he really wants to spend time with his mom and dad. Like, there's not a lot of people out there that are like, hey, I want to spend time with my parents because I like them and I genuinely think they're cool. Like the way he felt about his family. I knew the values were there. And of course, he's cute to me. He was taller than me. But I've also dated shorter guys before, and height is not going to be an indication of whether that person's going to have good character or going to be a good person. Like, height is just so trivial. So, but anyway, that's how we met.
Question then, because you're learning about them and you're falling in love with them, but then what about the whole visceral attraction? What about the love at first sight? What about the, I think I'm getting a whiff of their pheromones. I want to make babies with strong immune systems, as I was telling another dating coach. So what do you think about that? And how do you balance the two, if there is such a thing?
Of course, when you're on a date, when you first meet somebody, there has to be a little bit of spark, right? Like whether it's the way they look at you or the way they dress that makes them appealing, or the way they crack jokes or how they treat others. Like all those things work toward your attraction toward that person. So yes, chemistry, of course, is important. It has to happen. But chemistry also develops over time, especially for women. It's not like women just fall in love at first sight, but women have to bond over something. So maybe it's you go on a date and you bond over a great meal or some great stories, but there are many ways for people to fall in love. And the way I fell in love with my husband is, yes, of course he's attractive in my eyes, but it went deeper than that. It went deeper to, he's funny, or he has good work ethic, and he's honest and very straightforward. Like all those things matter.
And I think women sense whether they like the guy or they don't, and it's just the emotional connection. But at the end of the date, would she be waiting for him to ask her on another date, or she could ask him on another date? What do you think of that? Does it matter who asks who for the second date?
Yeah, because in traditional Asian families, it's the woman is told to let the guy do everything.
Right.
Be super submissive and be the good girlfriend or wife. Right?
Right. Absolutely. But there are ways that a woman can let a man know that she had a great time, and she would say yes if he asked her out again.
Like
so,
what?
Yeah. For example, at the end of the date, I would say, gosh, I had a really great time with you. I would love to hang out again. Or, hey, that movie's coming out next week. I would love to go see it. Like, you're dropping hints to somebody, but also let them know, hey, if you're going to ask me out again, I'm going to say yes. And in today's world, Asian American women, they are also okay asking men out, because why not let him know that there's this cute Italian place down the street that you guys both talked about and you had such a great time, and it's at the end of the date. You can always say, gosh, you know what? It was really fun. Let's hang out again, and let's go to that Italian place we were just talking about next week, and just go from there.
What do Asian moms say to that, though?
Forget about Italian restaurant, go to a sushi restaurant.
That's Japanese. That's Japanese. That's too specific. Yeah. So yeah, what would your Asian mom say about that then, for a girl who is more, an Asian girl who's more proactive? And, Mom, really? No, I asked him out. It's like, what did you shoot for the,
well,
there you know? Uh-oh, we got to pause here. Okay, hold on. May, if you can still hear us, your video is frozen. Just one. Okay, you're back. Okay, let's pick up here.
I say just go for it. I mean, if you like him enough, just say, hey, I would love to see you again, or I had a great time. And then you part ways, giving him a nice hug, and just let him know, a nice smile, and say thank you. A lot of times we forget all the basics of dating.
What about a kiss on the cheek? You just said no kiss. What about a kiss on the cheek?
On the cheek, I think it's okay, but a kiss on the lips is not okay. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think.
Hugging
is good. Hugging is good. A sincere hug, where you put your body into it, not like a cold hug. Kiss on the cheek, okay, maybe. Not kiss right away. I know a lot of Asian women would rather maybe kiss on the third date, not even the first or second date. So, yeah, it's better to leave him wanting more, because, work your way up to the third date. That's when you're going to get a kiss.
Okay, what are some of your success stories in this COVID era? Can you tell us a little bit about something cheerful?
Yes, a lot of good stories are still happening out there. People are still dating. They're comfortable doing video dates as their first date, and then they opt to meet in person on the second date, maybe go for a walk, maybe go for a cup of coffee and a walk. Seems like people are anxious to get back out there and to meet people. So especially feeling during these, last 100 days of staying at home, they think, gosh, I don't want to be home at the next pandemic alone. Like, it's kind of depressing. So I think a lot of people are more open to it, especially with video dating. They have opened up their geographical location now. So normally they wouldn't meet someone 50 miles away, but now they're like, heck, I'll meet someone 200 miles away or across the country or, out of country. So it's dating and love is always going to be there during a pandemic, after pandemic. Like, we all want that, right? I mean, we all want to be in love.
Yeah, that seems like a fundamental human urge and the common denominator,
Yeah.
So is any advice you can give about the etiquette of phoning and internet dating, of using Skype like we're doing now, of trying to get to know someone without the physical contact?
I love at least the first video date, and then get to know somebody, and then phone calls, and then minimal texting. I just find that men out there are constantly texting, and it's driving me nuts. It's driving me nuts because you are constantly texting a woman who doesn't like texting, and next thing you know, she's not even excited to meet you anymore. And this has happened a number of occasions where you're texting all these emoticons, and you're texting her this, and you're texting her that. It's like, you don't have that texting relationship yet. Like, I have that texting relationship with my close friends and my husband, but not a complete stranger, I like either meeting on video your first time, then make plans to meet in person, or make plans to meet in person your first time and do something, like a walk or something where it's low key and you still feel safe. It could be with a mask on. I have a lot of dates, people going on that are still being cautious, which they should be. So.
Or like meet in person for the phone call first, and then meet in person somewhere for coffee, like you said,
right.
60 to 90 minutes. I say 30 to 60. And, rather than texting all the time.
Okay, so what are some things that over the phone or on Skype or even in person are not red flags? We talk about red flags all the time. What are some things that could really be not red flags that are often taken to be red flags? Obviously, it varies with the people, but
I think that when people are getting to know somebody, that the man and the woman, both parties should be a little bit more forgiving, because you don't really want to date someone who's so smooth, right? Like, if I'm a woman and I'm dating this guy and I'm talking to him on the phone, he knows exactly what to say to schmooze me. Like, you don't want someone who knows exactly what to say. So it's okay if you're nervous on the phone call to say, gosh, I'm kind of nervous on this phone call because I just thought your profile photo was just so gorgeous. Like, no woman's going to be turned off by that, but they would actually like the fact that you're vulnerable and that you admitted that you were a little nervous. So I think with etiquette, it's just being yourself, but it's okay that you let people know how you really feel at that time. And every first date is full of nerves, right? You're meeting a person for the first time. But when you go out on these dates, don't have these high expectations. Just think, you know what? I'm going to go make a new friend. If there are sparks, then that's great. That's a bonus. But the goal of when you go out on a date is, I'm going to be a pleasant date and be a nice person and show them my fun side, easygoing side. And the whole goal is for that person to want to see you again. So if you can get a second date every single time you go out, then you're a good dater. You're a good person. But if you're not getting asked out on second dates, then you really need to look at yourself, because how can you meet all these people and they don't want to see you again? Like, the common denominator is you.
So what are the 3 things that not to talk about on your first date?
Politics, sex, and religion.
Yay,
Everybody says
that's
that.
right.
Everybody. I knew that. Even I knew that.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. There are still people talking about Trump on the first date, and that just makes everything horrible. And then people are talking about COVID on the first date, but they have such strong opinions about wearing masks or not wearing masks. So it's just be cautious about topics that you bring into a first date. Like you want the first date to be energetic and fun, but also not fake or superficial. But at the same time, keep in mind, this is a first date. So be on your best behavior.
So is it fair to say then, May, that perhaps you shouldn't talk about anything that you feel really strongly about that could be polarizing?
Yes, I definitely feel that way.
Don't talk about your previous relationships and husbands in a negative way, or just don't
Or
talk
wives.
to them at all.
Yeah, that you don't need to talk about exes. I mean, the only thing that you can or should say is, yeah, our relationship didn't work out, but I learned a lot. I think I'm ready to move on. Like just, if you're neutral about it, or you wish that person well, then you're ready to move on. If you're still angry or bitter and you tell your date that you're angry and bitter still, then you're probably not ready to date yet. So those are just self-policing policies that you can do on your own to make sure that you put your best foot forward.
So as a guy, we're often told, like, if a woman doesn't ask us any questions about ourselves, then it's kind of a red flag, that all she does is talk about herself, right? So, like, what kind of advice do you give the women under your tutelage or care with regards to personal interaction, either over the phone or Skype or in person?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I think dating is all about asking questions, right? That's how you show that you have interest in the other person. It's no different than when you make a new friend, a platonic friend. You ask that person questions to show that you care about him or her. So I think it's important for men and women to ask questions, appropriate questions, on a date to get to know them more. So it's like a ping pong of interaction. Like you ask me something, I ask you back. Not you ask me something, I just answer you, and then you're asking me more questions. Like that woman, if she doesn't respond by asking you questions, is pretty self-centered. Yeah, that's a huge red flag. I totally agree. And same thing with men.
Yeah, or she's not interested in the guy, so she's not willing to talk about herself or ask him any questions.
Right. And I think when women do that, like just turn off, like they're completely not interested in this person in front of them and they just end up being a bad date, like almost on purpose. I just think that is like the rudest dating etiquette that you can be is like, if you're out dating and two people are spending time to make time to meet with each other, carving out, 60, 90 minutes of their day for you, why not be a pleasant person and just have a great conversation and be a nice human being? Like, I always feel like, how can that date be so bad? Like, you couldn't find anything to talk about. If you can't find anything to talk about for 60 or 90 minutes, then maybe you need some date coaching. So I just don't understand how there can be horrible dates. Like, because I'm very optimistic on a date. It's like, if I don't find this person attractive, I'm still going to have a good time. I'm here anyway. I got dressed up. I did my hair and makeup. I might as well make the most of it, right?
Yeah. At the end of the date, who should be paying, a man or a woman or someone who asked the other one out?
The first date, I think the guys should pay every single time, 100%. Even if she does the purse reach, I think it's fake. I think the guy should just grab the check when the waiter or waitress puts it in front of them and not have it be an awkward moment. Like, if you're the guy and you know you're going to pay on the date anyway, just grab the check right away.
Yeah,
And
I agree too.
but as a
Yes,
guy, we're often
yes,
told
I
that if the
agree.
woman insists on going Dutch, she's not interested in you.
That's
yeah,
that's
Is
I
there any truth to that?
I agree. I think so too.
I also think women should just say thank you and not insist on going Dutch and have that awkwardness between them.
But
But
isn't
yeah, there are
it
some women.
feel they now owe something, and that the man will feel that he's owed something if he pays for the date?
I never felt that way. I always
No, I
thought,
don't. Women should
yeah,
feel that way, but
I think some women
I
do.
hear from women that they often
yeah,
think that they don't want to accept anything because they don't want to feel on the hook.
They don't want to feel
right.
obligated to him.
I think they just need to shift their thinking a little bit and be like, well, this man asked you out. He wants to take you out, wanted to treat you to dinner or drinks. It's no big deal. Just accept it and say thank you. I mean, this woman is probably the same person that can't take compliments if a guy gives it to her. So she should just say thank you and move on and be appreciative. And it's not like all of a sudden because he bought dinner that he expects her to sleep with him on the first date. I mean, that's just, I think that's old school thinking. If you're mature enough, you would say thank you and appreciate the dinner that he bought you.
Okay, but it's particularly in an Asian family with regards to the expectations of the girls and the young women in the family. You talk about tradition and old school thinking. With regards to physical intimacy, then how do you deal with that and your clients? What do you tell them?
Well, I tell them that they should date as many people as they want, even 2 or 3 at the same time, if you're not sleeping with somebody. The minute you sleep with somebody, that's when you should take a pause and think, okay, do I want to be with this person long term, or is there something there? Let's explore it together without sleeping with more than one person. It really depends on their comfort level with somebody and when they want to sleep with them. So, but I find that maybe the older clientele are more apt to be maybe speedier in this process. Like they know that, okay, I've been around the block. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I'm willing to sleep with this person, first, or I mean, not first date, but second or third date or whatever. So it just really depends on the person. I can't really put a number on it, as much as Regina wants me to put numbers on stuff.
She does. She's itching. I can feel her shaking here, wanting a number to come out of this. She's got her own set of rules
What
here.
is that number? Is it 5? Is it 10?
She's a traditionalist. Listen
I
to
am a
this.
traditionalist, so I have my own set of, well, it's not my own, it's a traditional set of rules, dating rules that women my age, over 50, would follow. And so it's basically from their date 1 to date 3, you cannot sleep with anybody. A man is supposed to pick up the check for the first 3 dates, and then later on we'll see. And yeah, it's kind of hard to date so many people at the same time, but I guess it's true, it's wise.
Right. I mean, it's all about your comfort level. I mean, I know some people that have gone intimate on the 3rd date, 2nd date, or they wait like 3 months. So it just really depends. Yeah, it's an individual choice.
that book that came out, The Rules. The Rules. You remember that book? And then there was a book that came out kind of against it called The Code for Men, right? And it was to fight against it, sort of thing. So like when I read The Rules, I was like, wow, like these are a lot of things that the appropriate woman who genuinely does some of these things, I think it can make her more enticing. But if you're contriving this, if you're just doing this for the sake of doing it, a lot of guys will just see through that. You know, it's like you're not really that busy, and you insist on making him wait, and he has to call back a million times. I don't know, but that to me, that's really disingenuous, and it's game playing, and it's highly unattractive. But if she's really busy, and she's really got demands on her time, and she's really, you know, trying to be careful and cautious, like that, then that, you can almost see that. You know what I mean? So what do you think of that whole kind of disingenuous approach?
I am not a fan of game playing whatsoever. I just think it's silly, and maybe it's just waste of time. Just go with how you feel. And I also think if someone is so busy that they can't date, it's like, come on, like you can't carve out 2 hours for this person or make time with your busy schedule, then you're just not into that person. That's why. Because no matter how busy you are or how much you like the person, you can make it work. Even if it's long distance, you make it work because you want to be with that person. So I think all those rules and code and game playing, those are all things, I guess, to sell books and stuff like that. But I think you just have to go with how you feel. Like, my friends who are in relationships now, I remember asking them how it started with them, and they weren't like looking at their phones all the time to see if their boyfriend was texting them or calling them. Like, you know, they were so confident in the relationship that you don't need to look at your phone. Like, I remember being dating with my husband. I didn't have to look at my phone and be like, did he call yet? Did he text me? What's going on? Like, when two people know that they want to be with each other, it just makes it easy, and there's no game playing. And relationships shouldn't be so hard that, you know, you're like seeing a therapist within your first year. Like, it's like, if you're seeing a therapist your first year of your relationship, you're going to have a tough time when you get married. So, I mean, all those things are red flags.
So along those lines, then, we often hear that people get into a relationship because they're seeking happiness. But then we heard from another dating coach, or at least I saw in an interview, that people should be happy when they get into a relationship. They should be independently happy. So what do you tell someone, a woman that comes to you, for instance, who's seeking to get into a relationship, but you feel that they're not truly happy, and that they're trying to get into a relationship perhaps for a dependency reason or for the wrong reason? How does someone work on themselves then in order to get themselves ready for that relationship?
Well, a lot of times that has to do with someone's confidence and their self-esteem. So if they feel like they're excelling in other areas of their lives, like whether it's at work or they have great friends, or, you know, they're successful, they're making good money, like they have a high self-esteem and they have self-confidence to not want to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship. So I guess they just enjoy life more, and they like who they are, and they're confident with that. So the women who come to me and say, I really want to be in a relationship because I have nothing going for me, like that's not an indicator of being in a relationship. It's not going to solve all your problems. That's when I would say, well, you know, that's when those memes are true. It's like, you have to love yourself first before you can love others, right?
No, and as a man, that's highly unattractive, because we want to to be discerning. We want to be discerning, right? Yeah. So that it's not to make ourselves feel special. It's just to know that, you know, she's got some standards, and we're fitting into those standards, that she's not going to be with any Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? So you
well, of course, yeah. I mean, once you find a partner, then you're going to stick to that partner. You don't want to be with somebody else. That's what's called a player.
Right. I mean, you have to have certain standards. You don't want someone who only want to be in a relationship no matter who it is.
Right.
Like, you
Right.
want to know that she had some options and she's
Right.
choosing you, right?
And especially for a woman wants to know that a man has options too, right? She doesn't want to think that she's the only possibility. I find women to be extremely competitive with each other in that kind of subtext, right? Do you agree?
Yes and no. I mean, I think dating is a very individual decision. So it's really up to the woman to have her own standards and find a man who maybe meets 80% of her criteria, and then give him a chance. You know, I can't stress that enough, is like, give someone a chance. Like, you really just don't know who they are until you get to know them. It's just like, you know, finding a friend. Like, you don't know if this person's going to be your best friend after you meet one time. Like, you need to go out a few more times to see if you guys click and that you guys get along and have the same common interests. Like, it's no different than dating. It's like you're just adding the romantic element to it. But I always say that it's like you're just meeting a new person, whether it's platonic or romantic, just get to know them.
Where would you suggest the first date take place? In a restaurant, in a park, or somewhere else?
I'm a big fan of dinner dates and activity dates. I think all those things are fine. Even coffee dates, but if you go on a coffee date, just because it's a coffee date doesn't mean you dress down. Like, you can go on a coffee date, but still do your hair, do your makeup, like put the effort into it. And just treat it like a real date. You don't go in sweats and hair in a ponytail and just came out from a workout. Like, you know, have a little bit more respect for your date to get dressed up for him. So, but I think dinner dates are fine. Activity dates are fine. Anything just to get to know somebody is fine.
And make sure they're on time. They're very punctual.
Yes, yes. That is key. That shows, you know, respect for others. And plus, it's first impressions are so key. I mean, it's hard to like erase someone's first impression, especially if it was negative. So, yeah.
So to make it a little bit more personal again, and you don't have to answer obviously, but in recalling your courtship with your husband, do you recall any incidents where, had you not made a particular decision, you would not be together today? So a lesson that you learned where maybe you compromised in a way that you had never thought you would, or a situation where you decided, you know, discretion is the better part of valor, or something where maybe if you were younger, you would just say, oh, no, that's it, red flag, goodbye. Anything that you learned personally, lessons that were hard learned, but you made the right choice? Well,
I always said I would never date a smoker, right? I think smoking is disgusting. My dad was a smoker. Yeah. So guess what? My husband's a smoker.
Are watering. Like, seriously, I'm super sensitive to smoke. Like, that hits really home to me.
Right. I don't either. Trust me. If I have a magic wand and I can make him a non-smoker, I would. But guess what? I'm married to a smoker.
Okay. All right. I mean, I get sick. I mean, last time I kissed a smoker, I had a sore throat for 2 days.
Oh my
you know?
goodness.
Oh, the video's frozen.
Oh, here I am. Sorry.
Yeah,
so yeah, guess what? I'm married to a smoker.
I had sore throat for 2 days the last time I kissed a smoker, and that was, I don't even know how many years ago that was. But seriously, okay, all right, that's fair. I did ask the question. What else?
What else? Okay, so when I started dating him, I already made plans to move out of state to New Orleans. And guess what? We dated 10 days in a row before I moved to New Orleans, and he was in Los Angeles. So again, you just don't know what's going to happen in life. Like, you just go with how you feel, and we made it work for a year dating long distance.
Wow.
After just being together for 10 days. And that's why when people are like, I don't want to meet someone, they're like 30 minutes away. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you know, like distance shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. And then to extend that question, if you permit me, Regina, and then are there any other, I don't want to say rules because that's so definite, right? So, but do you have any other guidelines or principles that we haven't spoken about in this interview today that you would like to mention?
Yes, if you're an Asian woman, and you just want to be a great catch later on in life, if you don't know how to cook right now, learn how to cook. Like, I mean, that is so, yes, it sounds so submissive, or it sounds so non-traditional, but
I told you. Yeah.
Yeah, if you just know how to cook some things, that's great. If you have a desire to learn how to cook, that's even better. Like, that is such a great quality to have, a man or a woman, actually, to know how to cook when you're with your significant other. That's like a beautiful thing you could do together. It's a thing you could do for him. I know it sounds so traditional, but I just feel like, man, I wish I learned how to cook way back when, but I didn't learn how to cook till 5 years ago. But I feel like my husband's a lot happier now that I know how to cook than when I didn't. And that's such an easy thing to do, like such a good thing to have under your belt.
I'll support that, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cell phones. Let's talk about cell phones, because I know millennials and Generation Xers going on a date, they always have their cell phones with them. So here you are, you're sitting there talking to your date, and the cell phone rings, and he picks it up. Like, should he pick it up or no? I'm against cell phones as well. When you're going on a date, leave your cell phones away.
Oh my God, I had that happen to me just recently. And you know, a few months ago, yeah, I was sitting there, we're eating. No, her phone rang. And she picks it up. She goes, I just need to get it. And I'm like, okay, if it's an emergency, I understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If my mom or dad calls and they're older, and I get worried. And if there was one time if I didn't pick up the phone, my mom wouldn't be with us today. So I have no regrets of doing that, okay? But she picked up the phone and she talked for a little bit, said a few things that were a little bit too intimate, and they said, oh, I'm sorry, that's a friend of mine who's seeing me after we're done. I said, what do you mean? She goes, oh, this is a friend of mine. He's meeting me at my place. You know, I don't have to dress up for him or anything. I can be in my pajamas. I'm like, what? She goes, oh, he's like my best male friend. And I'm like, really? So after our date, you're going to meet your best friend at home in your pajamas to watch videos.
Oh,
okay, that was the last date we had. That was the last date we had. Okay, and I thought things were actually going pretty good up until that point. But she didn't even realize what she did wrong.
She didn't, maybe she wasn't thinking either.
No, because for her it was okay. It was like, oh, I'm not interested in this guy at all. But how do I know? Yeah. How do I know I'm not playing? Right? You know, and yes, I did pay for the chicken wings and the, you know what I mean? Like I did, you know, and yeah. So anyway, sorry.
Did she call you back?
No, men are supposed to make the move, right?
But she didn't call you.
So, no.
Did she text you to say thank you?
We exchanged a few texts after that, and I just let it slide.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah.
Well, I agree with what you said.
We'll put it that way.
If you know you're going to get maybe an emergency phone call or whatever, you can say, I'm only going to answer the call if so-and-so calls me because I've been expecting this call all day or I've been waiting for it. And that can be it, but that's few and far between. Like that'll happen maybe once every 50 dates, you know, so just put your phone away, put it on silent, even if it's hooked up to your watch. Like don't be tempted to look at your watch. Just discontinue the setting on there and just be a good dater, because this is your first impression.
Yeah.
And yeah, put your phones away. I agree. I totally agree.
What about occupations? Like I'm a physician, and when I went through medical school, it's like they used our cell phones as a pager.
You would be a very good catch.
Do you know what I mean? Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I'm very picky. I'm very picky. So, you know, I had to have my phone there, right? Because like you're on call a lot and everything. Right. I mean, I even went to try to watch UFC, and I just kept getting paged. And I was like, okay, this just isn't worth it, you know, anymore. I'm just going to sit in the hospital and wait for something to happen, which it always did. So. Well,
that's when you would tell your date, hey, I'm on call today, so I might be interrupted. But at least let her know that ahead of time. And that way she knows, not just when it rings, you pick it up, you know, like just let her know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Be courteous. What would you expect if you know, if it's the other way around?
Yeah, no, and you do. You try not to divulge too much, and you try not to come across as, oh, I'm so busy, therefore. You know what I mean? Right? Because that's a very off-putting, too, right? And I've had that happen with girls I've gone out on coffee dates with, where they're like, oh, I have to do this. I was like, okay, so I'm not a priority. Thanks, you just let me know. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's where that's gone. Right? So, sorry, go ahead.
Do you have more questions?
We're running out of time? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we could clearly talk to you forever, and I found this really, really great conversation, and I'd love to chat with you again in the future sometime.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to add, May Bugenhagen?
Just if there's anyone out there who want to date Asian women, it's free for Asian women to be listed in my database with 2asianmatchmakers.com. Fill out a profile. Doesn't matter where you are, in Los Angeles, in Colorado, New York, all over the U.S.
Yeah, we're in Canada.
We're in Canada.
Yeah, in Canada, I have men who are looking for quality Asian women all the time. And I also would love to work with men anywhere in the world who want to date Asian women. I have a huge database of great Asian women. And yeah, look me up. I love to help.
Okay.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for spending time and talking to us today at the Etiquette Show. And
on behalf of Regina and myself, Sam Dubé, thank you so much for your time and participation. And we look forward to applying your lessons and perhaps chatting with you again in the future. And reach out to us sometime. Let us know how it's going. Okay, May?
Absolutely. Love it. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you so much. Be safe.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.